So as big and unwieldy as this quarter panel is, I managed to get it off and run it a couple of times through the English wheel, take out a lot of the irregularities in the quarter panel that I had hammered and dollied into there, and smooth it out a bit. So it was a bit of a struggle, really a two-man job, but there's still some highs and lows in there, a little bit of captured metal like right in here. I've got a disc shrinker coming. Hopefully I can shrink that down a little bit. I was able to put the extensions to the quarter panels, the top extension, and then this extension which establishes the deck lid line. You can see that the Challenger deck lid starts to go downhill from here, and we'll have to go out to match this. But that's been established, and you know, it's a little bit of an on and off process here. Trying to get everything worked out. Every time I put it back up there, it gets a little bit better. So patience is not something that I've ever had, but you just got to have it with this type of thing. It's a big piece of metal, and it wants to have a life of its own. So anyways, well, it may not look like a lot of progress, but this took quite a little bit of time to do this door jamb. I had to first make this piece, which welds to the car itself. It has a little return flange on it. As you can see, this is actually not attached here. Right here, this is an overlay piece that wraps around and holds the shape of the quarter panel in this direction. I had to slowly, there was a rim on here, a partial rim, and what I had to do was make this piece, overlay it, and then slowly cut through both pieces, push the back piece away, and then tack it as I went, in order not to lose the shape here. Now, at the top here, I'm trying to maintain this arc, which is the arc that was on the Challenger sheet metal, and the reason why is because right in here is the surface where the door handle lays, and the angle of the door handle and where it sits in relation to all of these catches. I'd like to maintain that, and it's no big deal because it kind of works its way into. This is a little flatter, obviously, than it would be on an actual 71, but and I have a little adjustment here. I have to push this out a little bit, but pretty much this is matching the substructure on the door as far as the same arc, and we're going to come down through here and then finish out here and roll in to try and create the end of the rocker panel. And of course, this is all welded now to the, I'll just open the door here so you can see what's going on here. This is all welded to the car right throughout here. You can see I have a little more fill in here that I have to do, a little more weld, but all the way up here is welded, and there's a little transition here. This does a little bit of grinding in this area over here, on up to here. This is a tight little transition. And what I'll do here is I'll neaten this all up when the quarter goes on for the final time. As you can see here, I'm working on what kind of a transition piece I need for the quarter window in order to create the illusion that the window doesn't have that S shape in it. So I have to take the lowest point of where the glass is, which is about here, and then I have to transition across it smoothly. And so far, this is where I'm at with that. And it's going to be a little more complicated than just making a piece of tin here. I have to make a back pocket. I started to work on the back piece. Let's see if I can find it here. But I didn't like the way the shape was. This has to slide in and create a place where I can pick up this filler piece, and also create about a 3/8 of an inch gap between the glass and this filler piece, so that if this piece of glass ever needs to be changed out or serviced, you can get inside, remove the trim, and stick a flat knife in, cut away all of the goo that holds the window in. Call it goo, technical term, and then basically pull the glass a little bit forward and slide it out, and then slide a new piece in once you've reset the bed with the adhesive. But that's where it is right now. And so I have a couple other things that I need to do before I can call this one good. One of them is I have to narrow this down, and so that it will accept these side marker lights. These are off the Challenger bumper. These will fit in here. I'm going to do a little bit. Looks like it fits pretty good, but the angles are not quite right, and so I don't know. I might have to make a housing that redesigns this to just a rectangular shape. I'll have to look at it. But anyway, I have to make something that this will be able to snap in and end up flush with the surface of the panel for later on. That all has to be in before I put this panel on, because it'll be a real nightmare to try and get a hold of that area later on. And then I have another panel that has to come down. Have to figure out how I'm going to do the closure from the inside of the trunk out to the quarter panel in this area, and how I'm going to stabilize this lower corner of the quarter panel. Just things that have to be worked out. So it's not as simple as just taking, there's a stock quarter panel over there, and just hanging it up on this card. It's about 80% there, but that 20% is wearing me out a bit. But we'll get it. Okay, so I'm going to try and replicate this pocket. This is where the side marker clips into the side of the Challenger bumper, and it basically shoves into one side and then clips onto the other side, and it ends up flushing out the side of the bumper. Now I've got to make the same thing out of steel, so I can weld it into the quarter panel. So the first thing I have to do is create the shape that this will clip into, and right now I'm slowly sneaking up on working it in. It has a little centering pin right there, you can see, and then on the opposite side it has a little spring clip. So the slides will slide in, and it'll locate on that. I don't know if this is in focus or not here. It'll locate on that little slide-in pin right there, and then it should snap into place with this little detention spring clip. So the first things first, get this thing fit in here to where it fits snugly, and then I have to slowly work the sides and so up to create the housing that'll go into the existing hole where the side marker is cut out for the 71 quarter panel. So that's what I'm up to right now. All right, now that I've got that clip in, next step is to trace around the piece, and I'm going to have to cut it in a way that I can fold up these sides. So I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, this is what the rough box looks like now. I got to weld up the corners, and once I do, I'll have to trim it off flush with the top of the lens. And then I'll have to go around and I'll have to add a flat sheet metal rim that is the circumference of the lens. So that's next. Okay, here's the housing. Now it's flushed up with the lens itself. Now I got to add the rim so that I can set it in the side of the car. So here's the finished up housing. I decided not to weld up these corners of the box. I'm just going to put a little epoxy in there to seal them up, because even if I welded them from the outside, there would be a lot of weld that came through on the inside, and it'd be a real pain to try and get in there and clean that out to where it wouldn't interfere with the lens. So I'll just put a little sealant in there, a little epoxy sealant, and so now it's pretty much ready to install on the car. So here with the insert in the car, after I clearance the hole out a little bit, because these 2 points are a little longer than the hole that was already in the car, I've put some yellow tape across where I kind of want it to fit in, how much of the this quarter panel metal I want to keep. So I'll be cutting along this line and an overlap cut, so that it's basically leaving me the Ziz wheel or the abrasive wheels width to actually weld this to the car. So I'm just going to mark this out here, and then I'm going to trim off some of the excess and then fit it back in the hole, and then proceed to cut through and tack it to the car. So here's the new side marker, rear side marker pocket welded into the car, and we'll just see if we can get this thing here to pop in the way it's supposed to. And there you have it. There's the new side marker fit into the quarter panel. That took about probably 3 hours to do, so that's why it takes so long to do this kind of stuff. Also, I wanted to show you something that I just picked up. We use this at work a bit when we want to take a high spot out of the metal that's trapped, and it goes on a 90 grinder. It's just it's about a $60 piece for the kit, and it's a shrinking disc, and it's just metal on metal. So when you go over the area, it generates some heat in the metal, and that heat will shrink up a little bit of mounded up metal. Right here I had a high spot that was just trapped in there, so I just worked it until it built up enough heat, and you run your hand over it a little bit to see what's going on, and after a while you'll feel it just start to recede a little bit. So it's kind of a handy little tool. Like I said, it's about $60 for the kit, which is just a metal disc and a backer, but it works pretty good.